6th Open Chess Congress tournament. Having lots of fun in these in these games. So the first one we play as white, and we're playing against a 1995. Our rating is 1382. So we're playing upwards as usual, playing in the open section. We have no grand ideas about any performances or anything like that in terms of us being in the open. As I've mentioned before, anybody can enter the open, no matter what rating you are. You can be unrated, whatever, and it doesn't mean you've got ideas above your station or anything like that. It says open. It does not say, oh, it's only for the 2000 pluses and the 1900s. It's open, O-P-E-N. So now that I've got off my chest again, and we're playing as white, and the opening looked fairly simple. I'm not going to go into in-depth stuff with these. I'm just going to go through the salient points, and that's it. So we grabbed the knight. So the opening felt fairly okay. We weren't going through these moves very quickly. It's nice, slow, steady pace. It's a long play game. I still can't remember what it was, 80 plus 10, something like that. So the knight moved back, and I thought, well, okay, we feel like we're managing, and if we're getting the queen off the board, that feels okay. So I'm feeling quite good about the position. And then to target the pawn, we bring the bishop here. I wasn't really liking the idea that my bishop was protecting the pawn. I was going to bring the knight back, but then the bishop has got the x-ray through to the pawn, through to the rook. So then I started to not like the position and the opening that we'd followed. So we brought the knight up. We're trying our best to try and get this saved in a way and try and maybe own the file with the rooks. So I'm really happy because we're playing against a 1995 here, and we're at move 13. I'm like thinking, wow, this is golden, but I'm not really a fan of my position with the bishop here. So they bring the knight through, we take, and then we're just looking to support the pawn because obviously the bishop is attacking it. Still not liking my position with the bishop. Computer's not too unhappy with it at this moment. I'm not very happy with it. So they bring the bishop through, obviously looking maybe to attack the rook type thing. Also got probably sights of attacking the pawn here. So we take the rook off the board and we go for the exchanges. That was probably the catalyst for the whole process. I don't think we should have taken the rook in hindsight. I did take my time over it. I thought to myself, oh, I'm against the 1995. If we can get rid of the pieces, then at least they've got less pieces to work with. But positionally, I'm not in the best place to do it. And I was thinking of all sorts of things like moving the bishop here and pushing this pawn to support this pawn. But in my head, it was just kind of too slow, and the bishop's really not in the game. Could try and get it around, but it just felt too slow. And basically brought the rook across, you know, supporting the pawn, because that was my bugbear. You know, my bishop was stuck here. So we could have then done some of this or done a bit of dancing with the bishop. Well, maybe not there because the bishop would take it, but it does free the bishop up. So a simple rook move like that. And then if they take, then we're owning the file. It's a lot happier that way. So that was the catalyst, capturing the rook. Should have just sat back a little bit and just done a small, steady, slow maneuver such as this, because that was my problem. I did put that into my Rolodex, but I just thought, well, let's just reduce down the pieces, but it really didn't improve my position. I did say I was doing a quick canter through, so that was the key element there to the game, because from there, then they do have the bishops that can start targeting the pawns, and that's what I was panicking about. How do I stop this? I'm going to have to push here, then he's going to attack here, something like that. So he's going to get both pieces. So started panicking, not panicking, but like worrying a little bit too much. Computer saying this is okay with the pawn pushed down, but not with the capture. Yep, so it's saying bishop e7, e3, sorry. And bishop e3 is coming here, attacking this pawn. which would reduce down their pawn, not majority, but the amount of pawns they've got on that side. Didn't see that. Didn't see that. So bringing the bishop here, just letting him have it, and then take him. Interesting. Yes, I didn't see that. So the capture was not a good thing because it was going to allow the bishop back into the game, and it's basically managing this square. It's kind of blocking off the knight from getting any access as well. So at this point, we just said to ourselves, well, let's just go try and fly around the back and maybe just sit the bishop here type thing. But the position is not good enough for us, really. They start bringing their bishop down, and then the capture, as we mentioned. And at that point, really, I'm struggling to try and find a position. They're +1 at the minute, and we're just trying to squeeze our pieces up, but they're making inroads in. And we're trying to distract them a little bit, but it's just not good enough because what they have is all these pawns, these 2 pawns against this one. My king, you know, it's not going to, it has to babysit this pawn. I can't work on both sides of the board with the king, so at that point I resigned. But all in all, I was fairly happy with the development all the way up until that point where we did the exchanges. And even when we did do the exchanges, I mean, let's go to where the computer's still agreeing. Yeah, so we did the exchanges. It's not too bad, but it's what we did after that, which is that type of thing. It's saying knight e2. So bringing the knight back around again, getting a little bit fancy and arty. Yeah, I was in the mindset of just get rid of the pieces. So it was that smallest of detail, but then we got a bit of a reprieve, but we didn't make the right move. We thought it was, but it's just bringing the bishop back into life. Part of me thought, oh, I bet you'll take with the pawn, you know, but obviously they didn't take with the pawn, took with the bishop. So that was game 1. And didn't feel too bad about it at all, because spent a long time in the game, so it's really quite good to be able to play games like that games people that are watching and thinking, oh, this is going to upset the apple cart, isn't it? Because 1382, if they whoop a 1995, that's a lot of rating points that we would be grabbing. Not that I'm into grabbing the ratings, I'm just here to enjoy my games and just improve the performance of the games. So if I can make these higher rated players work, I'm a happy man. You know, you have to look at the differences in the levels of play. You know, the 1995 for a reason, that's nearly 2000s. You know, I'm still a little meaty 1382 with my casual chess type stuff, but I'm having so much fun actually putting some pressure on these stronger players. That was game 1.
You're getting worse. I'm getting better.
Game 2 of the weekend's OtB tournament, the 6 open section tournament that I've gone to. And in this game, we are playing black against a 1962. Again, going to try and be as quick as possible with it. And just so this opening I've seen so many times, and you know, I know it verbatim in terms of the responses that should be given. And I had a brain fart. I had an out-of-body experience from this one move here. I didn't rush anything. I wasn't blitzing out the moves or anything like that. I took my time, and I felt myself come outside of my body, and I was looking down at myself. And I was going, what the heck are you doing? And the me that was at the board was thinking, oh, I know this line. I want to just do something different. This is not going to be it's not going to be bad. Let's just try something a bit different. And there's no major problems. I can't see any issues, but it was unfamiliar territory for me because I don't play like that. And you'd think I'd learn, wouldn't you? But it was just a moment of out of bodiness where I'm up in the ceiling somewhere looking down at myself and going, I don't really know what you're doing, fella. That's not the right way, is it? And you know it's not the right way, yet you still made that move. Anyway, nothing drastically wrong with the move per se, but it's the position on the board. And then it was my overthinking of the whole position. Because I was not used to this type of position play, I started overestimating what the opponent could do. And my calculation was just going absolutely nuts. I was up in the ceiling looking down at myself and I'm going, see, you're paying the price now for your stupidness, aren't you? So they captured and we brought the knight up and then we brought the bishop through. Then they castled. So I moved the queen. You know, it's saying knight h5 and I looked at this move for ages. Knight h5, attacking the bishop. All simple, straightforward stuff, because what we're looking at is this pawn pushing down here, and if we take, then obviously it's going to take, but then it felt like the whole continuation was just gone to pot. I should have just gone with the basics, just nice and steady. I looked at this like this attack for so long. Anyway, we want to do a quick recap. So basically this is what this game was about. This game was about an out-of-body experience that I was looking down at myself, basically going, I don't know what you've just done and I don't know what you're going to do, because you're overthinking and you're over-respecting the opponent's abilities. So we brought the queen through and then we eventually went and attacked the bishop, but a little bit too late now. And look at this airy king. Now we all know I would have castled ages ago. I don't have an airy king. So yeah, a total out of body experience in this game. One which I'm hopefully never going to replicate ever again. These things happen because we go through all our evaluations and training things that we need to work on, etc. This was one of them way back, where it was highlighted in, what was it, the Open or even the minor tournaments. Basically said, don't overestimate or over-respect the opponent's play, because 9 times out of 10 they ain't going that way. And that's what I did in this game, and it just totally messed up. Look at the position. So that's not me playing, and basically I've scratched this game from my mental Rolodex because it was a total out-of-body experience. That's not me playing at all in any way, shape. Obviously it physically was, but it was an out-of-body experience. So they put the check on. I'm just going to flick through now, and there's captures and captures, and for a brief moment I thought, oh, they've made a mistake when they did the queen thing. And the people watching thought, oh, sacrificed, but it wasn't to be. So I tried my best to just see if he was going to make any mistakes whatsoever, but they didn't. And at this point, obviously the look was, well, you should just resign now, fella. But sometimes they can make a mistake, but I resigned at this point. That was the out-of-body experience, which we scratched from our mental Rolodex, and we move on to the next game.
You're getting worse.
So coming up to the board for round 4, I see that my name has got a buy at the side of it. I'd already got an official buy for round 3. So then when I saw a buy, because somebody had rung up in the morning and says, oh, I don't want to play because I've been losing, or something like that. It messed up the orders, and because I'm the lowest rated player, it just made sense. And obviously the scores that I had as well meant that I was the first one to receive the buy. And as you know, I go to the competitions to actually play a game, so it was lucky that the coordinator could get me a game, and it was against somebody who'd got a buy in the minors section. His rating was, I think, 746 or something like that. He's about 10 years old. 400 online playing rapid. He likes to play rapid, so he likes to play quick. So they opened with the d4 and we blocked and just brought the bishop out. This felt pretty normal, usual, and we attacked the bishop. I don't really like taking it because sometimes, you know, it opens up this rook and then the queen starts messing around your kingside area. But there's a time and a place for doing that when everything's settled a bit. So we castled and we captured, and we just started looking to put some pressure towards the queen area. I was thinking of taking, but I thought I don't really want to develop his knight. So we pushed up onto the queen. Queen moves. So it's pretty normal, straightforward type stuff. And from this point, I'm thinking, wow, 700, crikey. You know, 700 for me, like, getting to this stage here. I mean, this is like move 10. And he knew what was what. So I brought the knight up, and now he's attacking down the center. So we grabbed, they grabbed, and we grabbed. I took the bishop off the board. And like I said, it's not really a good thing taking the bishop because it does open up all this. But I sat there and I thought to myself, well, I'm going to take it and I'm just going to push this pawn here and block it down. What else can he do really? Is he looking at getting his knight in there or something, which can be taken? I didn't really see too much that could happen with it. So I decided to take the bishop off the board. And then so it's showing a good thing. So it's basically saying queenside castling for them rather than bringing the queen over. So we saw this and I thought, okay, that's a nice queen, so we might as well go for an exchange. And I wasn't thinking that they were going to be taken with this. I thought, oh, they'll continue with this and maybe try and get the knight here attacking and we just blast up or something like that. So I was pretty relaxed with this position at the minute. And then this decided to start pushing towards these pawns because he's got a pawn majority on this side. And a quick lesson that we learned, well, not a quick lesson, but one of the lessons that we learned when we played in the open tournaments was looking at how the higher rated players attack the pawn majority of the opponents, you know, when it's coming to the end game type stuff. And if you can manage it, then yeah, you go for it, you know, but sometimes you just don't end up in those ideal positions to go and attack. But thought, well, this looked fairly okay-ish for us to start doing that. And then this came down. After he'd done the move, he then said, do you want to draw? And I thought, oh, you know, I mean, it's second to last game. I might think about it. So I says, well, I'll take a break and I'll come back. So I visualized this stuff when I was on my break. And I said to myself, if we just hit the head of the snake, something might fall. You know, if he doesn't take, then we take and just try and dishevel this pawn structure that he's got, because that's his pawn majority. So I came back off the break, looked at the table, and then just played my move. He looked very disappointed, but I thought, well, I just don't think it is a draw. But if it's played out as a draw, then so be it. Computers liking what we've done, so I suppose that's a blessing. And then they go and castle, which means we can take the pawn and then we can get the pawn. So +1 out of that, putting some pressure onto this pawn here. So it's got a bit of continuation, so we can take the rook, and now we can start pushing the pawn up. Yeah, so that was a bit of a stunner for them, because I'm thinking, well, if we go here, if he wants to take the pawn, it's not going to be fast enough to stop this pawn. It's going to get promoted. The knight can't get in there to actually attack that area. So it's a pretty safe pawn to go and get promoted, I'm thinking. And again, can push the pawn, because if he takes, then we get the queen. And he does take, and we just get the queen. Again, now looking to see if we can get this one passed, and, well, not passed, but promoted as well. Knight comes down, defending, looking to attack this pawn with the queen. All pretty straightforward stuff. But again, just trying not to be silly with anything. I was looking and focusing. I wasn't moving fast. And just trying to find the better positions. Trying not to get any silly forks. You know what I mean? He's got his knight here, but the queen's guarding that area at the minute. So they do attack, and we can put a check on the king. I was always waiting to put a check on the king with the queen on the dark square. And then they push down, so it gives us time to push. Then we support the pawn with the rook. Take the knight off the board because they've gone and attacked us, and now the knight is unprotected. So we can go and exchange, and then we can just put checks on the king, and then he allowed us to get the checkmate, which was very nice of them. So that was that game there. No issues or problems with that one. Pretty smooth sailing, but I liked the patience aspect of the game. Taking the time, trying to find those better-ish moves, really did make me feel better. And off of the back of playing game 2, where basically I had the out of body thing, I said to myself, no more out of body stuff, you know, just play the game that you know how to play. It's all about a good experience and enjoying the games for me. So yeah, that was an enjoyable game.
I'm getting better.
Okay, this is the final game that we played, and it's against a 1984, and I'm 1382. We're playing as black. Opponent opened with d4, and we've been practicing this type of continuation with the d4 and then this c move, so that felt fairly smooth, and took my time over the moves, but I just kept looking and thinking, yes, we know this, so we're feeling comfortable with this position. Bring the knight through now, taking a lot of time over the moves, no rushing, and then just opening up the dark square bishop, simple capture, and then just pinning through with the bishop, and then just supporting with the knight. So all fairly okay at this moment in time. Bring the bishop through, we bring the bishop across, and during the game I felt it was good for us. I felt it was beneficial, but one thing that was kept cropping up all the time in my mind was it's a move order thing. It's a move order thing. We hit the bishop, so he's got 2 pieces being hit, but I'm thinking, well, if he gets rid of this knight, then he's going to get our bishop, and he's going to push these pawns. I did say he was going to probably push this pawn. I kept looking and like thinking, well, do we take it or do we move the knight out of the way? I focused more on moving the knight out of the way so that the bishop is attacking the queen type thing. But I don't think that was the best thing. I was trying to get the best move order situation going on, but I just don't think I got it nailed on. So they did push the pawn down, and Gauge bar's liking that for us, but it's move order. So we captured, and I thought, yeah, that's okay, because we've got a tempo, because they have to do something, you know, got to take here. Right, so that's fine. But then we do bring the knight across because we were focused on that move, you know, from the calculation. I didn't really see anything majorly wrong with it. I'm thinking, yeah, we're attacking the bishop, but simple capture of the pawn would have worked. But I'm thinking, I'm taking, and then he takes. He's still on the knight, but the knight can move, can't it? I didn't follow that in. I just had that feeling that we were going to be losing out somehow. So we jumped up and captured, and then they went with the queen, and I visualized them actually going for this knight move here, and I'm thinking that must surely be something for us. So I'm thinking, right, let's take here, yeah, and then get the rook here. I was thinking getting it here, the rook, and then pushing the pawn to be on the queen, and I thought that's too slow. So that's why I plumped for the queen coming over, which the computer's not really much of a fan of, really. I mean, it's still minus, but it's neither here nor there, is that? So I plumped for coming across here, but the computer is saying the rook should have come, because then that would have been a nice juicy threat potential on there. Yep, but I only visualized here to here with the idea of pushing, because the knight's protecting the rook. I should have extended a little bit and just gone, oh yeah, the rook can do that as well. Anyway, they took the pawn, and then we took back. Now, it's still going with the rook H. So if the rook did go with the H, the pawn takes, does the king take? I suppose the king does take, doesn't it? Yeah, so we went with the queen thing because we were more set to do that. Brought the knight up, captured. I believe at... When did I offer the draw? At some point. I think it was a little bit... no, it was after this and this. I offered the draw and they says, no, let's carry on. I'm like thinking, oh, it looks drawish to me. But carried on. And at this point here, it's against the 1984, you got to remember. I'm 1382. I know I keep saying it, but that's the reality of the situation. Anyone else that was like a 1382 or whatever it is, and they're playing against 1900s and 2000s, and they're still in the game after move 20. You know, it's... I'm really happy with the performance. Really happy with the performance indeed. There's a stark contrast to the start of the tournament to then how it's ending. So yeah, very pleased with this setup at the minute. And we're just bringing the knight around and just trying to attack the pawn. So I'll just breeze through this now. So at this moment in time, still drawish for this length of time. Move 28 against the 1984. And then we capture. At this point, I'm thinking, are we going to be fast enough to protect these pawns here? And it was a move order type thing. Yeah, so we're still in the game. It's move 30, still a draw at this moment in time. But the more his king is getting down, the more I'm thinking, I don't know if we can support these pawns or not. Can we not try and attack their pawns somehow? So we bring the knight down. And I was thinking, well, if he takes, then the pawn takes, then the king is not getting into here, so it's going to have to come here. Then maybe we've got a bit of speed to come across and kind of protect the pawn, maybe, because maybe we'll drop here. So that was the idea, but they didn't do that. They moved the king, which made me think, oh damn, I might have to jump up here to come back around again to protect the pawn. At this point, I could have resigned really, because I thought to myself, I don't know, I think I've messed it up somehow. Maybe my king should have been earlier to the party moving across for it to be a draw. But I think the computer's saying there should have been fancier knight moves. It's saying knight d6. So the knight coming here, which kind of stops the king from jumping in here for now. So then he'd have to move his knight. So yeah, it's just a different placement, isn't it? We attack and put the check there. Okay, so it's slightly better now. We'll try and work our way around, but it's just too much. I didn't get the right position for it. But on the whole, very happy with that. 48 moves, yeah. That's not too bad. It's not too shabby. I'm happy with my performance in that particular game. I have this remembrance of the film The Fly, when the fly is still in its like chrysalis state or pupa state or whatever you like to call it. You're getting worse. And I'm thinking, we're still in our pupa stage. We'll be in our pupa stage for a long time. We're still crystallizing, still metamorphosizing. So we're getting better.